Yo, what's up, Bug?
Nothing much. How you doing?
No, I'm doing okay. I'm kind of nervous for this, but I'll try my best
You know
to
what?
maintain
I
this.
am just probably as nervous as you. I have never done something like this before. This will kind of be like my first official, not maybe interview or maybe like a pod. I'm not sure what this is really though. What
Yeah,
what
it's
podcast were you hoping like podcast type thing?
well, yeah, but at the same time, I just get artists, guests, or whatever, and generally ask them questions or whatever. It's a kind of an interview podcast
Sweet.
thing.
Cool.
It's more
I'm super
casual.
hyped. I think that's better, honestly, when you have more of a casual kind of outlook on podcasts, because then you're not as stressed. It's more of a chilled back. You're just talking to a bud,
Yeah,
and I think that is always worlds better rather than like an official interview or like something like that. Um, so I'm excited. I'm nervous but excited.
so I don't know how to start this, but hey, welcome to this little debut episode of this podcast that I'm starting with no title yet, matter of fact, but I thought it would be interesting to just start a podcast to see what other people think, and it's just more of a thing that I've been inspired by, much like music. So,
Well, I'm happy to be a part of it.
well, we have BUGCORE on the line right here. What's up, dude?
Nothing much. Just living the life of a small little 6-inch tall bug.
Ah, sounds great. So,
But
for those people who are at home living under a rock, like in the music scene, don't know who BUGCORE is, BUGCORE is mostly affiliated with no, I'm just kidding. I'll get to that soon. I don't want you, I don't want to like refer to you as that guy who knows Metaroom.
that guy who knows
That
well, I
guy.
mean, granted, that's kind of like a big reason as to why I am where I am right now. Like I would give him a lot of credit to where I'm at right now.
Yeah,
Definitely.
you two seem like best buddies, you know?
We kind of are. We're very close. Granted, we both have our things that we're working on. We can't talk all the time,
Yeah,
but
I can
we
tell.
are very close. But yeah, geez, our relationship goes back like a ways actually, or not like a ways, but I met, and I think I told you about this before, but me and Freddie actually met, uh, right before he was doing stuff with Joel G, and just before I would say he really kind of took off, which was just a really, I think I just kind of became friends with him at the perfect point in time, I guess.
Which is
But
around when Jitter Fanta released, right?
yeah, so I actually found Metaroom through Hyperpop, because at the time I was kind of releasing through them, and at that point I had just released my EP under Lars, which no one knows about. But it was like a really small EP release via Lars, which was kind of my project before BUGCORE really happened. And so I'd found him through Hyperpop, and I was like, man, this guy's stuff is like really well mixed and really well mastered, and he's got like a really unique style. And so like I started checking his stuff out, and then I realized he had a band called PINKFACE, and they had like a whole Discord set up. And so I had ended up joining that Discord server, and I asked Metaroom for the stems from a track that they had just put out, which was, I believe, Chromodynamics.
Let me check. I think that was it the track with Maydag, right?
Yes. I was a huge fan of the vocals on that track, and I was like, just give me the vocals, give me a couple of other things, and I will remix it. That remix has still yet to come out yet, but I started working on that last September, and I'd given Freddie or Metaroom a couple of just snippets of what I had been making, and oh hey, he was like, oh, this is really dope, and we kind of got closer and closer through the track I was remixing, and we started talking more, and that's kind of how it took off. Was just for me originally wanting to remix one of his tracks, and yeah, it just kind of started from there, and now we're here. 6 months from yeah, geez, 6 months ago. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, like you said, you just basically met him at the right point of time, really, because
Yeah,
I think right around that time he started working on the one of the songs for Ina, right?
yeah. Well, he did the Temptation Stairway remix, or was that his own? Wait.
That was his own
Oh,
thing. It was like
I sound like such an idiot. That was his own thing, right?
yeah, it was Temptation
Okay,
Stairway
okay.
Waltz Variation. I
I
have
am a
a playlist.
fool. I'm a
Of,
fool for saying that. I thought it was a remix. He said because I read it and it said Walt's version, and I was like, oh, maybe he's doing like a remix or something. But yeah, I witnessed that being released. He told me he released it, and I was like, oh, cool, like, awesome. And then it, just took off, and it's honestly so cool watching, kind of your friends take off in the music career and really kind of meet their dreams and kind of get to do what they wanted to do. And it's just such a interesting kind of thing to almost be in the passenger side seat of that car almost, and just being able to watch and maybe getting a couple of followers or something. But this journey has been very, very interesting so far and very, very exciting. And I'm so excited to see where Metaroom ends up taking his stuff and where he's going. And yeah, a lot of my inspiration, especially back in like September and stuff, was from Metaroom. I'd actually been going through like and sorry, this is like a whole side tangent here, but at the time when I was making that remix, I didn't really know what sound I'd wanted to go for. And I'd been focusing so much on like what do people want to hear and what is going to be like what people enjoy the most.
yeah, because prior you
And
were making like lo-fi beats, right?
I was making lo-fi beats before that. I was making just these very like stuff that I enjoyed making, wasn't necessarily for anyone. It was just kind of like personal and like, if anyone listened to it, great. But it was also kind of trying to appeal to a more of a mainstream audience. And I think in me trying to chase after that mainstream audience is kind of what came to I kind of made me come to the realization of like, I don't really want to do that. What if I don't want to make music for what people like, or maybe what the general, audience or the general public will like? And at that point, yeah, I was talking to Freddie and I was listening to some of Freddie's stuff, and I was like, this man does not care. This man does not care about any. Well, he has an audience, and I think that what he's so good at is keying into that audience and knowing what they want. And
Yeah,
so I took a lot of liberties from him and his music, and how he kind of just created almost his own audience, and how it was more of a like, okay, this is the music I make, this is what I enjoy making. If people don't like it, that's fine, but at least it's what I enjoy. Attacking it from that type of perspective rather than a what do people want, I think has totally helped me so much in the long run. Just kind of coming back to that whole point of like, me and Freddie's relationship and how I really got started through him. And so he's been a huge help throughout basically my entire music career so far. But I didn't mean to cut you off. You had a point that you were going to bring up?
Yes, correct. I was just gonna point out how his audience is usually into like these sort of weird core type PS1 visuals or whatever, like Vib Ribbon, LSD Dream Emulator, whatever.
Right. No, it very, very much so. It keys on that Y2K type-esque
Yeah.
genre, which I find so fascinating because that's kind of like my childhood, and that's like, what I was interested in, and like, all these PS1 and PS2 games and all that jazz, I think is really interesting because, yeah, that's what I was raised on. I made this realization the other day wherein I feel like Vaporwave right now is kind of making an exit, like, from the mainstream almost.
Yeah, it's
And
actually it's dying. Like
it's
I'll tell you about a story about like how a label just completely killed itself by its own creator. I'll get to that later.
Tell me. Oh, okay. I was like, tell me. I'm so curious. But what I was going to say is that it's so interesting now seeing Vaporwave kind of leaving the mainstream media and watching hyperpop kind of almost come more into the mainstream. And granted, I wouldn't call it necessarily 100% like mainstream at the moment, but Vaporwave was something that keyed into more of a 90s, 80s-esque nostalgia. So, you know, people who had been making Vaporwave back in like 2013, 2014 were making music based off of their experience from the 90s and 80s and taking those samples that they had heard and completely contorting them and changing them into these, you know, almost completely different tracks, and kind of watching the aesthetic of the 90s and 80s, that capitalism, and making that its own kind of, oh my goodness, what's the word for it? Making it its own aesthetic. And now the new aesthetic that's kind of coming into play is that Y2K hyperpop-esque, where it is taking what we had as, you know, kids and our nostalgia and almost contorting it and twisting it into something that would fit in today's terms, which I find so interesting. And it's weird seeing the genre that I primarily enjoy making kind of almost come into that mainstream. Just a little, yeah, interesting fact about Vaporwave, I guess. Didn't mean to go off there.
No, it's cool. I was just gonna say something about Freddy. I just think that, like, he seems like a really nice dude. I haven't spoken to him much because obviously he's a very busy dude, and judging by me and him's DMs, he's not very, like, fast with replying.
No, even even with me at some points in time, he won't be right on top of it. Like, I can call him and, you know, he'll pick up, but it's usually a very it'll take some time. And, you know, I respect that he has other things that he's doing, and that he has other projects he's attacking, so I never try to, like, hey yo, like, come on dude, like, what the heck, you know. I understand that we both kind of have our own things we're doing and kind of our own aspirations and our own projects that we're kind of working on at the moment. And so I totally understand why kind of Freddy does maybe take a moment occasionally to respond, just because he is a very busy man a lot of the time. He has, so I wish I could just, like, on this podcast, just tell all the things that we have planned for the next couple of months, because we have so much.
Yeah, for sure.
These next couple of months are going to be really exciting to see what comes out of, you know, what we're doing, or more or less what he's doing, and I'm just happen to be a part of. And I'm so happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's understandable to just not tell anyone, because, like, this is, like, classified information, and it's just gonna spoil everything, you know, so that people will expect it.
Very classified, but sorry.
But yeah, you actually checked one topic off of my text file, which is how BUGCORE met Metaroom and everyone else. Well, I don't, as in, like, everyone else, I haven't gone to that point yet. So how did you meet MAFTI?
I met MAFTI through Metaroom.
Well, obviously.
I had no clue that they were siblings for the longest time.
Oh, same, until you actually told me. Like, I had suspicions. Like, he told me through DMs. Makes me and my bro, like, proud of what we're doing or whatever. I don't know, I can't look back. But then you properly told me and Sujin and VC, and I was like, it was so mind-blowing.
Yeah, y'all had freaked about that. I was like, what? You guys didn't know that? Well, so, in a separate server, me, MAFTI, and Metaroom were all, me and a couple of other friends, basically. I remember we were all in a voice chat, and they just brought it up out of nowhere. I was like, wait, what? Back up a second. And I was like, you guys are siblings? And I'm honestly trying to remember, like, how I necessarily exactly met MAFTI. But I know that I had asked him for my BUGCORE. He's actually the guy who designed my whole profile picture and my logo, and I usually trust him with my logo work and stuff. And I had reached out to him and asked him if he could make me a logo, and this is back when I was kind of reinventing BUGCORE and kind of, like, bringing it back. I had reached out to him and asked if he could, you know, make me a little logo. He was very, very excited to, like, he's like, oh yeah, I would love to work on it, or I'd love to work on something. And, you know, just from there, we'd gotten a lot closer over the past couple of months, but I believe I met Freddie before I met MAFTI. So yeah, it was basically me asking for a commission, and then we just kind of grew closer after that.
Like Metaroom, he's also a nice person. Like,
very much so.
Yeah.
They're both very, very kind. You know, I was kind of almost scared that in seeing like kind of Metaroom grow as an artist, I noticed so many artists that I did know who kind of grew in popularity, where it's almost like their entire mentality about people and interactions with people online and stuff change from like more of a friendly approach to like, yeah, I'm really busy or talking to a famous person type approach. And I don't want to be pointing fingers, but you would talk to me about this artist and was saying that like you're like, oh man, I was, you know, you were saying how upset you were at the fact that, you know, they weren't very nice. And
yeah, that's true.
But, you know, Metaroom and MAFTI, no matter their popularity, have always maintained that very friendly vibe and approach to like conversations and stuff. Even with more serious topics, they're very nice and easy to talk to.
Yeah, for sure. Like when I talked to him after, he seemed like very excited to like talk to me. Yeah.
Well, he's a very like the first text he ever sent me, I was looking back at our DMs. He texted me. He just seemed so happy to almost work for me, which I think made me so much more comfortable with them. Especially in working with Metaroom, and they just have such a friendly approach to things, and I never feel like stressed or like I'm talking to someone who's so much more popular than me or something. They're very understanding and very accepting and nice, and you know, the list is endless of what they are, but yeah, I'm not sure. Even if Metaroom wanted to, I'm not even sure he could say a mean thing.
He doesn't strike me as that type of person, to be honest.
He really isn't. He's not that type of guy. It reminds me of the meme. You're not that guy. You're not that guy.
Okay, you already know about like how I actually got through the MAFTI, but for the audience that doesn't know, I'll explain. So.
Oh yes, please tell the story.
Yeah, this is gonna be so embarrassing. Well, no, not really embarrassing. It was a much more happier moment.
It's interesting.
So basically, it was like back in February when I noticed that you and MAFTI followed me, and then Metaroom just like had VTuber core song, which was like wow. At that time,
I had sent to him. At that point,
yeah, I know.
Like, because I was like, "Yo, you gotta check out this guy's stuff. Like, he's really sick, and he's like really interesting type, Sewerslvt type stuff." And we were both at the time really into Sewerslvt stuff, and so he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll check him out." And then he was like, "Oh, this is really dope," and it was like, you know, it was such a cool, I think, experience. Not to maybe like put words in your mouth or anything, but I thought it was like a very cool experience for you.
Yeah, it was. When I heard it from you through Instagram, I was just typing in all caps.
But I'm sorry, I keep on cutting you off.
No, it's fine.
Continue.
But yeah, right around that time, like I didn't listen to Metaroom that much, so it struck me just a little bit. I think I didn't know that much about you and MAFTI too. It was only until like a few months ago where I started like properly listening to your stuff. Fast forward to April, I was just starting to listen to Freddie a lot more. I set a challenge for myself where I just listened to stuff like 1,000 times, and that took me like 3 weeks. It's insane, but
wait, what?
I thought you already knew about that.
I didn't. This is news to me.
I was telling Sujin all about this, like everything that's under his Spotify that I listened to, and it just scrobbled on my Last FM, and I didn't stop until it reached 1,000 plays in total.
Wow, dang, that is some dedication if I've ever seen it. That is crazy. Wow, yeah, I didn't know about that.
Well, now you know.
Well, now I know. I have all the information.
Now you'd understand the reaction I give later on that month. So amidst all of this, I think it was like I think it was around I don't know, April 10th, April 12th. I don't remember the specific date, but I was just looking through my SoundCloud follower list, and I saw that MAFTI was on my followers list. I didn't notice this prior, but I was just like, oh shit, this is like a lot more cooler than I thought, because I see that he's been working on stuff with Freddy, like Nothing World, and his own stuff. So I just decided to just give him a message on SoundCloud. I was just like, hey, thank you for following me. Like, that actually meant a lot to me. A few days later, I've gotten a response from him. It was when I woke up to get ready for school. I saw a email notification. Hey, you got a SoundCloud message from MAFTI. I opened it, and he was just like, hey, yeah, no problem. I really like your stuff, and I'm in love with it. And the next thing he proceeded to say is, maybe we can work on something at some point. And at that point, I was just fucking, like, I was, like, so surprised. I was like, whoa, Metaroom's friend wanted to work with me. That's what I thought. I was like,
well,
fuck
it's such
yeah,
a crazy experience. It's such like a almost movie moment where it's like, oh, this isn't gonna happen. And then it does. You're like, oh, jeez, like, you actually want to, like, I'm surprised when even, like, certain artists will, like, respond to my text or something. Like, I'll DM them. I almost DM'd, I'm sure if I'm saying this right, but Geosaur. They make, like, super sick dubstep, great sound design. I almost reached out to them, and it's on their Instagram story, and I straight up almost, like, I'd farted right as I was watching his story, and it was like a beat or something, and I happened to fart right on the beat drop. And I was like so excited about this. I almost texted him. I was like, man, I farted right on that beat drop. Just, thought I'd let you know. I almost did, but I am very much a pussy. So I did not. But, I'll probably have to rewatch it and DM him. I have confidence now. But, yeah, it's always such a joy when you kind of get those texts from maybe artists that you look up to or someone that you look up to. It's one of the best feelings in the world.
One of them was you at some point, I believe.
Which made me feel so good because I don't consider myself like a massive mainstream like artist. I like whatever, got a couple 100 followers on SoundCloud, whatever. Like, it's not that big of a deal to me, but I was just so surprised that someone would be so interested in my music, and I was like, oh, sweet, like, thanks, that's awesome. I feel like it made me super happy when you had reached out to me and you were just like, oh, what did you say? You were saying something like, you had DM'd me via Instagram. That's what it was.
I'll talk about that later, because that's part of the story.
Whole side story right there. We'll get to that later.
Okay, so basically, I think right after that, like, me and MAFTI added each other on Discord. Yeah, I think that's it. I remember just sending him just a fanboy message explaining how I've been listening to his brother. And, like, it came off so fanboyish that it was like almost embarrassing. It was just like, I feel so bad for sending that now. And then he was just so chill about it afterwards, so it's not as, like, bad.
Embarrassed, or like, not as, almost kind of embarrassing to look at, because I think that, like, going back onto the fact that they are very nice. Like, I could never see MAFTI or Metaroom ever being a unapproachable person, like, at all.
And then to this day, I'm just still waiting on, like, some sort of message from him, because, like, I would really like to work with him someday. I feel like that would just open up, like, a whole lot of things for me.
Oh, he'd probably totally be down. It's just, finding that right moment and when he's free. And, I think you'd totally be down for it. Granted, I'm saying this, I cannot speak for Freddy at all, but I wouldn't see a reason as to why he wouldn't.
Yeah, again, at the end of the day, they're just busy people, so.
Right. I mean, that's kind of the sad part, is watching them get more and more busy. And even with me, like, I'm starting to get more and more busy with, like, commission work and a couple of, just projects I'm working on, stuff I planned for the next couple of months.
I didn't know you did commissions.
I have a funny story about a commission, actually.
Okay.
Someone had reached out to me I'm used to like maybe rap beat commissions or something. I had just finished up a project for a friend, and that was a super simple commission. I was like, oh yeah, whatever, I can throw this together for you in like, you know, maybe a day or two. I'm used to those types of beat commissions where like some rapper or someone will come and be like, oh hey yeah dude, I'm a huge fan of your beats, will you make something for me? And I'm like, oh yeah, sure. You know, these are my rates and such. I had someone reach out to me the other day, maybe like, I say the other day, like a week or two ago, asking for a commission. And he DM'd me via Instagram, and I was like, oh sweet, what would you like, what were you thinking? And he was like, would you be okay with something a little more personal? And at that point, I was kind of like starting to question, like, what kind of beat does he want? Like, I don't know if I can do something more personal. He ended up asking me to make a beat for his proposal.
What?
And yeah, nothing wrong with that, like at all. I'm honored. Like, thank you. I was like, thank you so much. Like, that is a lot though. And are you sure you want me to make your like beat proposal thing? Like, me? You would want someone who's better at like making maybe more emotional music? Yeah, I can only imagine like, you know, him proposing to like like, you know, he also wanted a personalized message in the track, and I'm not sure how I'm gonna work with that, but he was like, yeah, would you be okay if I put like a personalized message in there? I'm not sure what he's gonna say, but like I'm so it's a weird, odd, stressful thing to almost take on. And I accepted it because of how much he was paying. He was like, I'll pay you this much. And I was like, whew, I'll take that much. And so I was like, yeah, hell yeah, I'll work on it. But it's just it's very stressful making something like that for such what feels like a sacred moment. And it could go so right or so wrong. And, you know, it just depends on, I guess, there's so many different factors that, you know, are kind of pending, or it just depends on, yeah, whatever. It's oddly stressful, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, just like lately more artists like you are just doing commissions. When I talked to Freddie for a tiny bit, sorry if I keep mentioning him, by the way.
No, you're fine. He's one of the main reasons why I'm here.
Yep. But when I reached out to Freddie, I was surprised that he was doing commissions too. I searched his pages and I saw, wait, what commissions? I don't see any commission requests.
You don't hear about the commission work like ever from artists. It's almost odd, like seeing that artists have made other stuff than the official music that they've released. You're like, oh, that artist made that? Like, I had no clue. So yeah, I think the track that Freddie came out with that was more of an official thing, but was also a commission, was Snuffy.
Oh,
which
yes.
I thought was so good.
Yes.
I want to
yes.
see stuff like that is right up my alley. Oh my god, it's so good.
100% yes.
Well, it's 100% Freddie. It's all Metaroom right there.
Whew.
Yeah, I have a couple of commissions. It's just more or less kind of on the person who I did the commission for, like when they're ready to release it and when it's theirs at this point. Like, they paid for it, you do whatever you want with it. In saying that, I don't do a ton of commission work, but I do just every once in a while, depending on what the commission is, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Like, I don't find myself doing commission work at all. I feel like I'd be like very inconsistent with deliveries.
And that's how it feels. Is that sometimes I'm like really into it, and you're really into like whatever beat you're making, and you're like, okay, I know exactly where I'm going with this. But sometimes, you know, the person will make some requests where it's like, I'm not sure how I'm gonna do this, and it kind of forces you into a more not a bad space at all, but it's definitely it's harder to make something that you are not necessarily sure what to do with. You're like, oh, I don't know where I'm going to go from here, but they want like, 2 minutes worth of time. So I'm going to have to, do this or this. It's just, there's so many different factors that play into it that might make it a little more harder, or not necessarily harder, but maybe more interesting, kind of like I was saying.
However, I do want to like move on to like another story, because
Oh yes, yes, please.
that story where I mentioned about how me and you met
Oh yeah,
through Instagram. So like I
that's
think
right.
10 days after like me and MAFTI like talked for a bit, I just started following just artists on Instagram, and one of them was you. So like I think, what was it, April 26th was the day. I was just sitting in science class. I went to check my phone to see what the time was, and I just saw a notification. Oh, Instagram, BUGCORE_XD has followed you, and I was just like, holy shit.
And I mean, that's so nice. Like, I think that's so cool. Like, thank you, thank you.
Nah,
I
no
think
problem.
that's such a compliment to, like, you know, oh man, I saw that you had followed me, and you know, it made you happy, and I feel like that's the whole goal of my music, is just to make people happy and stuff. So to hear that, you know, I bring joy, it makes me happy in the long run.
Yeah, it was like 20 minutes before class ended, and school ended rather. So I was just like in the car, just like texting you, like.
I forgot what I said. Wait a second, I gotta look through my Instagram.
Hang on, I have it right here.
Oh Lord,
I just
I
gotta
think it's gonna be
scroll up.
funnier in you reading it
Oh,
to me
I was
instead
just
of
like,
me looking at it.
I was just like, whoa, I can't believe you followed me back. The O face, like the O emoji.
Yeah,
Thank you
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
much. You're just like, no problem. Think your stuff is pretty awesome. Then I replied with like 2 paragraphs. I said, yours too. Been listening to your stuff in Metaroom for like the past week, and I've been getting pretty hooked. If I'm being honest, then it's an honor that you like my stuff, LOL, because I never expected that from anyone I listened to.
It's such an honor. Even with your what track that I was looking at, some of your stuff is doing like amazing right now.
The little
Almost better than
song, 11.5k plays as of now.
Yeah, yeah. That one, that's got more plays than most of my tracks. Like, I was just like it's so cool watching, you know, especially artists that I would consider my friends, like watching their music do really well. It's especially kind of when I met you, because you very much were almost kind of like, and I don't want this to sound bad at all, but like almost kind of like a fanboy-esque.
Yeah.
And then we totally became friends, but like watching you grow through your music and stuff is just so interesting, and watching, you know, your audience grow and watching more people enjoy your music and stuff and talk about you.
I
It's
don't see many discussions about me, that's the thing.
Well, and they might not be all the time, but they're starting to become more frequent.
Yeah.
For sure. And especially with me and Freddie and like MAFTI and just in other chats and stuff.
Yeah, as of recent, like Telemist like just added me on Discord, and we just started talking. This was like a few days ago.
Really?
Yeah.
And,
Telemist,
yeah.
like she was in Sujin server self-promoting her new track and all that stuff. She noticed my Metaroom Angel remix that I posted. She said like how cool it was, and then immediately sent me a friend request right afterwards. So I thought that was amazing.
Such a good feeling when you're like, oh, they requested to be friends with me. Oh yes.
That's how it is most of the time.
See, I feel like that's such a good feeling. Like, almost nothing beats it.
Dude, I actually started freaking out when you told me that you could ask Metaroom if I could be like a part of this collective thing, which
which is still in the works right now. We're trying to get more on top of that, but we're still also trying to kind of keep it more or less underground. Like just kind of we'll say bits and pieces about it here, kind of get people wondering about it, but we have our artists kind of lined up. You were one of the artists that we were considering kind of bringing on to this whole, you know, collective. Yeah, we're just kind of making more progress with that, I guess, but it really does feel good when someone like kind of reaches out to you and is like, hey, we want you to be a part of said thing. And you're like, me? You want me to be a part of this?
Exactly.
So that's how I felt when Metaroom had invited me to be a part of PINKFACE and be their next member.
Which
and
didn't really take off.
which
Well,
didn't really
yeah.
take. Well, okay, there's a lot of unsaid things about PINKFACE. We actually, I'm not sure if I should say that. Never mind. I was like, ooh. So sometime earlier this year, kind of end of last year, we had like a ton of tracks that we were finishing up. I don't know what happened to it. I think we all just kind of got caught up in our own stuff and kind of what we had to do, especially with Metaroom's kind of music career taking off right now. And it just was not the right time to finish it. But we have like a ton of music that could be released. I think there's a couple of people in the band who were saying that, like, you know, I'm not a huge fan of this sound, and we were just still trying to kind of collectively find the sound we're looking for. And so that's why we kind of decided to just put that on hold for the time being. Was just kind of like a almost soul searching of what we want our sound to be like.
What I found funny is that on the Bandcamp page of PINKFACE, the location is based on Los Angeles, California, which I think it's not true. You guys are just like all across the states. Like,
well, most of them are actually closer to LA. I'm not near LA, but actually most of the people in the band are very close together. I want to say it's somewhere in LA, kind of close to that area. Not exactly LA, maybe, but I couldn't tell you exactly.
So yeah, I think I've covered almost everything. Oh wait, no, I don't think I've gone through the entire story yet.
What else is there?
I'm just looking at the DMs from you and me when we just started talking.
I was just looking through them. I like scrolled through a paragraph.
And I just I just obsessively said I've streamed Metaroom about 800 times for almost 2 weeks, and seeing that really made my day. Yeah, I asked you if MAFTI was busy, because like I think you were the only other person that I knew that was in contact with him. Because like he wasn't budging for a few days.
It does, yeah. Like that kind of goes back to the idea that they're both very busy, and like there's just so much they're both trying to tackle right now. And I've actually talked to him. I'm like, me and a couple of other people, not necessarily MAFTI, but more or less Metaroom, where it's just he is attacking so much right now, and it's like, are you doing too much? Do you feel like, you know, you're overloading yourself or in any way? Their work, like, so that's why PINKFACE is put on hold. That's why a lot of these things are kind of almost put on hold, because he has so much stuff he's doing right now. He's just so busy with a lot of this work. And so it'll kind of take him a minute to really respond to, like, because, you know, granted, I don't think he gets, like, you know, DMs every single day and he's just, you know, flooded, but he just does have a lot of work he's doing, so it's not like in his top priority to necessarily respond.
I just got reminded of that one time when we were in VC, you were telling about, like, oh, I forgot what you were specifically talking about.
I go on so many different tangents, it's hard to nail down one, so hey.
Yeah, but it was that one time where you said, hey, Metaroom, we gotta get this out by next week. Are you worried about this at all? No.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, this is kind of like tea right here. So me and Metaroom have a collab that we're hoping to release sometime in July. And originally it was going to be on Hyperpop's 5-year collection. Like they had kind of an album coming out with all of the artists that have been on Hyperpop the past 5 years. And the due date for our track, which was going to be on that 5-year collection, was coming up really fast, and there was so much we wanted to do to this track. We were like, wait, we have so many different things we wanted to do with it. So I had texted Shady Monk, who is the owner of Hyperpop. I had DM'd him and said, like, would you be okay if we possibly release this at maybe a later date? And so originally it was supposed to be on Hyperpop, but at the end of the day, I don't think we're going to release through Hyperpop, just because we have so much that we wanted to do. We want to be able to release it on our own time, I guess, and just kind of have more of that freedom of, you know, this is somewhat of a self-release, and I think that's somewhat more gratifying than releasing on a label, especially with this type of music.
So it just comes off to me that Metaroom doesn't really worry too much about, like, due dates or whatever?
No, not at all. Okay, well, dude, I have so many stories about due dates where I have just either been way too close to, like, missing that date or something, or just nailing it out. Me and this is just kind of a little story about, I believe I've told you about this, but just for the viewers. Me and Dogs Magic, when we were working on AL-BAL,
Yep.
we had started that like maybe 4-ish months before it was actually released. We had been kind of working on it here and there and just kind of getting the general sound of what we wanted and where we were going with it. And the due date was like in a week. This due date was coming up extremely fast. We had like a week before it had to be finished, and we only had like a minute of actual stuff we had recorded and gotten done. And it was just so jam-packed, full of different things that we had and wanted to add in there. It's like, oh, we could make this a bit better, or oh, we could do this. That kind of idea of us just kind of continuing to come back to these certain sounds got us really caught up in just that minute of time that we had. Or in that minute of progress we had made. There was just so much that we could have done. And then I DM'd Dogs Magic and was like, okay, so it's due tomorrow, because Shady had DM'd me as like, hey, are you guys about done with that track? And I was like, we're not even close. And we had 24 hours. He was like, okay, yeah, if you can get it to me by like tomorrow or the day after next. We got that shit done in like 24 hours. Lord, I was so impressed by what, Dogs Magic was able to do just with, that 24 hours. He just gets on shit and goes.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that,
yeah,
that Dogs Magic spent the last 4 hours on that last part.
Yeah, he spent basically, the last 4 hours probably on the last kind of minute of it. And so basically, like the last portion of the track is mostly Dogs Magic. I threw on a couple of things and I didn't have time. I was like, we don't have time for this. Like, I can throw on like maybe whatever. I'll throw the hi-hats in there. I'll throw, a couple of other things just to kind of make it more interesting and then call it a day. Yeah, man, I cannot believe we got that track out at the time we did, because there's no way in hell we should have been able to.
And lo and behold, it sounds good.
Yeah, well, we wanted to send it to Freddie to master it, because he's a god at that. And we didn't have time. We were like, oh crap, we don't have time for like a good master. And, Freddie was like, oh, I'm a little busy, can't do it. Or I'm not sure if he said he was busy or not, but we didn't end up having him master it, I don't think. We just we gave it to Shady and he mastered it. And then it was released. That's the whole shabam shadoodle right there. I cannot believe, we got that track out at the time we did.
For something that was just like so rushed, I was just surprised at like how good it sounded. Especially like telling that story now.
It's so it is so interesting to me. I'll listen to it every like once in a while or something. I'll be listening to some Hyperpop stuff, and then I'll be like, oh, hey, it's AL-BAL. And then I'll be like, oh, I could have fixed this, or I could have fixed this, or I could have done this. And like, I could definitely have, made that kick a little less powerful or something.
But I'm pretty sure nobody noticed.
But no one, and that's the thing. I think so many people, especially artists, will maybe put something out and it's not necessarily like, it's somewhat of a remorse. You're kind of like, oh geez, I could have done that better, or like I could have done this better. We're so focused on what we could have done rather than what we did, not looking back and just like, just put it out. Like, good luck. If people like it, great. If people don't like it, cool. You just have to go into it, don't think too hard about it. What's Kenny Beats freaking catchphrase? Don't think about it or something. Just give me a second. I gotta find this. Kenny Beats. Can't believe I'm looking this up right now. Sorry, I looked it up and I searched up catchphrase hoping he would give me the quote, but it gave me his beat tag. It gave me the tagline. I just read it's like the first thing that on Google that pops up is, whoa, Kenny!
His songs often begin with the tagline.
Yes. Oh, Kenny. He has often talked about importance of being in person with an artist he is recording and producing for. stating how valuable it can be to have immediate feedback on ideas and enhance the overall creativity in music that is produced. But it was whatever. It was something like, don't think too hard about it. And I feel like so many of these artists struggle with thinking too hard about like how it sounds, and I feel like in doing that, you almost kind of can make your music sound worse. I'm not sure if you noticed this, but whenever I've been producing for like hours on end, I can no longer tell if a beat is good or not.
Oh, that's the
Like
same with me.
it's just like I forgot, and this sounds so weird, but almost forgetting what it sounds like, just because you hear that thing over and over and over again. You're hearing it on loop 20. Like I've probably listened to every single track I've produced well over 1,000 times, just to make sure I can get every single kink out of it. But in doing that, you kind of can almost mess up the job that you've done. And when you're thinking too hard about certain things, or you kind of, it's less of a in the moment, that sounds good, sweet. It's more of a you're thinking about it. Oh, maybe that filter doesn't sound too good. Or like, I feel like the first idea you originally had with a sound or with a project, you should just stick with that, go, don't think too hard about it. And that's not to say you shouldn't have your moments where you are like, maybe you're mixing a track or something. Like those are the moments where I'd say, okay, maybe think a little harder on that. But just like in producing and making sounds, don't think too hard about it. It's not really whether or not people are going to like it. It's whether you like it or not.
And that's a good motto at the end of the day.
Yeah. There's my motto. BUGCORE motto. Mr. Core's motto right there.
Don't think about it.
Don't think.
And don't think about it.
So bad out of context. That's not my quote. I take it back.
It sounds very New Yorkish. Hey, don't think about it.
Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Kind of, you're right. It does sound very New York-esque. Do you have any like personal questions? Because I wouldn't mind answering like some personal questions if you got those.
I just mostly wanted to wonder. I just wanted to wonder, like, how the fuck did you guys like find out about me at all? Like,
I find out about you.
Random. Yeah.
It was literally, and I mean, I hope this doesn't sound mean or anything, but I found you at random.
Makes sense.
No, I didn't. I take that back. I didn't find you at random. Bleak, or it was either Bleak or Vertigo Away.
Vertigo Away. That name sounds very familiar. They appear on my fans also like section on Spotify.
Yeah, we played Witherfest together.
Yeah, I saw.
They had reposted VTuber Core. And I was like, what's so odd is I never go through other people's reposts. Like, unless it's Freddy's or maybe another really close artist friend of mine, I usually don't go through reposts. But, like, for once, I was like, okay, let's see what, they've reposted. And it was your track, VTuber Core. And what's so weird about this, too, is I never listen to a track in full. Like, I'm always skipping through sections, and I'm like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. Really nice hook, or, like, really solid, kicks and stuff. But I listened to your track all the way through, and then the last, 30 seconds of VTuber Core is golden. It is so good.
That part I just felt like was really rushed. Like I just wanted an ending that just sounded worth it.
It's the rushed parts that are the best. It's those moments where you're like, I just gotta go. I just gotta do this. You kind of hunker down and you go. Those moments get you the best music, in my opinion. And it depends on what type of music you're making, but I think that in most case scenarios, when you kind of have that go mentality, or I have to finish this, okay, I have a 50-50 perspective on this, because it could either work out amazing and you're just like, I gotta get this out, let's go. It could turn out amazing, or it could turn out like, oh crap, this sounds really rushed. As long as the project itself hasn't been started in a rushful state, like you're starting this project because like, oh, I have to make money, or oh, I have to do this. As long as you don't start a project like that, I think if you finish a project like with the idea of we gotta go, we gotta do this, kind of going back to AL-BAL, I think that's what gave it somewhat of its charm, is like the idea that it was somewhat rushed. Some of my first tracks I ever made that were released on Hyperpop, my first EP, which was Dark Moon and Ghost Feeling, those were my first 2 tracks I ever released. The first one was super rushed. I like cannot believe it was another story where I was like, I can't believe I got that out at that time. And I released it, and I was like, oh, hopefully people like this, and people loved it. And I was like, what? Like, really? You like this? Cool, great. But I could never understand why someone would like a rushed product, and that's still kind of almost interests me today, like why someone would enjoy something that I feel like I rushed. I've come to ignore it because I feel like most of my projects where I feel very rushed are almost some of my favorite projects, where it's like, oh man, I forgot I made that. Or like EARWORM, when I made EARWORM, that track was the complete opposite of what I've been talking about in the whole idea of rushing. I made that track 2 years ago when I very first started BUGCORE. When I kind of come back to it maybe last year, it was still it was very much just like sample-esque, and like it wasn't as good as it could have been. But then I was like, oh, no, I can do something with this. Like, this is a really interesting idea. I'm going to come back. I'm going to fix a couple of these things. And then I added that second drop. That was something that I almost didn't release, which is so weird for me to think about, because that is one of my most popular songs. I was like kind of questioning it, and it was something that I had been sitting on and had been working with for a minute. Like, I'd been working on EARWORM for maybe, like 2 years. I had been kind of sitting on it and kind of working with it. I was like, I guess I'll release it. Like, it's done, like, or what I would consider as done. I'm not sure I want it to be any longer, any shorter than this. I don't think it could be any shorter than what it is right now, but I released it, and I didn't expect much from it, but I got so much more in return. It's one of my favorite tracks to go back on. It's like that one track that I actually sat and really waited it out and really kind of questioned and really thought about what was going into this production. Whereas 9 times out of 10 my projects, like, I finish within the month and then I'll release it in that same month. It'll just be like a very spontaneous single or something, which is something I enjoy doing because it is very much a part of what I would say BUGCORE is all about, that spontaneity. EARWORM was the one track I did sit on. I was waiting for the right time to release it, and waiting for just the perfect moment to where I felt like this should be released. And originally I wanted to release it more in the summer, like May, June-ish. I ended up getting too excited about it because I just finished it. Fine, I'll release it. And I did, and that's the whole story behind EARWORM. There's
and
that
what's even cooler is MAFTI made the cover.
Yeah, well, MAFTI has done the cover art for every... Okay, actually, I take that back. He did the cover art for the Wormrave remix that I did.
He also did the cover for AL-BAL.
AL-BAL. He didn't do Funk Death. It almost looks like MAFTI would have done Funk Death, but this was a different person who I was good friends with. And then a different artist actually came in and kind of almost messed with the image a bit, and then she put like further things on it. So I had actually 2 different artists working on the cover for Funk Death. I think the only other official release that I didn't have MAFTI do the cover art for was New Slum / Key Swamp.
Yep.
And that was Bath. We're really close friends.
Wait, that was Bath?
That was Bath. Bath did the cover art for New Slum / Key Swamp. I'd actually originally reached out to him and wanted him to make a little music video for it, which isn't necessarily out of the picture yet, but just an idea we got for a possible music video for it. But yeah, all great artists. Every single artist that I've had that I've commissioned, I've loved, and I've always loved their art and stuff.
Yeah, usually Bath does like 3D Blender stuff,
Yeah, well, MAFTI's my like go-to usually. art-wise.
And even better, you don't have to. He doesn't charge you $100 for it.
No, yeah.
Which is what I've heard. Like, I don't know if this is true, but that's what I've heard.
Is that he charges $100?
Yeah.
He doesn't. I'm not sure if I should say that, but no. Usually he doesn't like charge me all that much. I guess I get the friend discount, but I don't know. Yeah, he's always been super friendly to me, and like with some of my releases, I didn't even have to pay him. Like, or some of the, he was just like, "Oh yeah, it's on me." That's like, really? You should, like, this is really good. Are you sure you don't want me to like pay you for this? A lot of the times, you know, he usually doesn't care. I've asked him, like, I want to pay you, like, let me pay you. So I honestly haven't heard much about the $100 commissions. I feel that is fair though for what MAFTI does and just the time and effort he puts into his pieces.
Oh yeah, that's completely understandable. Like, I don't mean to come off as like, you know, mean when I said that.
No, and I didn't take it as mean in any, like, you know, form.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's always been very fair with like prices and stuff.
So yeah, about that story that kind of derailed. So can you explain further on like how you guys found me and stuff, if you don't mind?
Oh yeah. Sorry, that's right. So I'd found you through Vertigo Away's repost of your track V2 BUGCORE. After finding out about that, I was like, oh dude, Metaroom would love this stuff. Like, this is right up his alley. And at that time, he had posted a couple of whips that sounded a lot what you were making, and I was like, oh dude, yeah, Freddie would love this. And so we were all in a voice chat. It might have been the Nothing World voice chat, possibly. At that point, yeah, I showed Freddie your music, and he was saying how much he loved it. And he kind of, you know, I posted your song in the VC chat, and then under it, Freddie was like, oh, this is dope, like, this is super good. And I think he checked out more of your stuff after that. He didn't tell me which tracks he checked out, but I know that he did end up going and looking at a couple of your other songs. But that's kind of how me and my group of friends found you. Was literally through a repost that Vertigo Away had put out, and at that point I wasn't really necessarily talking to Vertigo Away like on the daily or anything. We were more or less just kind of like acquaintances.
I'm looking through the likes, and Vertigo Away didn't repost it, but I did see Dog's Magic in the like section.
It might have been Dog's Magic. Maybe not Vertigo Away, but Dog's Magic. It was one, yeah, it's like one of three people. It might have been Dog's Magic though, because he never reposts stuff, like, ever. He's very seclusive when it comes to music and stuff. He's trying to do more right now, but like he's always super seclusive when it had come to his music. When he reposted your track, I was like, this better be the shit, man. And so I checked it out, and it was the shit.
Well, it still makes me really happy to see that, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's... Sorry, go ahead.
And it was more or less a building block to where I am today, really, because I without that, I probably wouldn't have been talking to you, MAFTI, or Freddie at all.
I mean, it could have totally played out differently.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, I'm so happy that, like, I ended up finding you out and stuff, because your stuff is so good.
Thanks.
And it is very much like that almost weirdcore-esque type stuff that we all love and have come to love.
Oh, almost.
So it really is an honor being able to, you know, talk to you and be able to, you know, see how your music is going and see how, you know, all that jazz is going and such.
Everyone who's listening to this, including you, will be happy to hear that I'm announcing a remix EP. Bug, I think you already know about this because I've teased about it.
Yeah,
like, in your server.
You talked to me about it. Yeah, you were saying that you have I want to say like a month ago you were talking about it, like a remix EP or something.
Yeah, I did.
And yeah, you got me hyped on that. I'm hyped for it.
I'm just gonna do like a remix EP of just like Metaroom songs, and that's it. Angel is finished. It's on my SoundCloud right now, and right as of yesterday, I've been working on the Sticker Invasion remix, and it actually
I
sounds
saw on your
good.
story
I can
that
send
you
you
were
I can
working on
send
it.
you a preview of this, a preview of it, so that you can check it out like after the session.
Please then.
Yeah.
I am here for it. Send it. Send it.
I just love how it flows, honestly.
It does have a really neat flow, and that was the first track I had liked that was Freddy's on Spotify.
It had that like modern hyperpop like esque vibe to it.
Very much so. Definitely has that that vibe to it. But isn't all hyperpop like modern? That's my question.
As in like the beginning part of like Sticker Invasion, where I had the
Oh,
I forgot, but it kind of sounded like something like off of 100 gex or something. As stupid as that comparison is.
I mean, almost to an extent. That are like Animal Crossing, but on crack.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm super excited to see the rest of the CP.
Yeah, it's gonna be stressful for a bit because it's gonna be hard, like trying to find ideas on what can work and how to make it sound unique. But it's gonna be out eventually.
I totally feel right now I'm working on October stuff, actually, something that I want to do for October.
Yeah, which is why I
Which
wanted to ask you what are
way
you
off.
working on right now?
Right now I am. So I have this idea for BUGCORE once October hits, because October is like my favorite month. God, I love October. I want to release a lot of my darker stuff and stuff that I have been working on as of recent. Just a lot. I haven't really shared most of the darker stuff that I'm working on right now with like anyone. I'm trying to keep it as like, you know, don't show anyone as much as possible, because it is such a, it's way off, you know. I mean, granted, October is 3 months away, but still. I wanted to, for October, the month of October, I want to release all of my darker beats that I've made, more dubstep-esque, more trap, like darker trap and stuff in October, but change my name from BUGCORE to like deathcore or something like that. I don't know. And completely like rebrand almost. But not like a complete rebrand, because after October, I'm just going back to BUGCORE. I'm trying to figure this all out, and it's like you know, talking to artists and stuff and seeing if they'd be cool with it. But yeah, that's really what I'm working on right now, is mostly just what I'm kind of working on for October. That's just mostly what I'm working on for the time being. But yeah, at the moment, just as a more recent, I haven't really had a lot of inspiration for what I normally make. And so I'm just kind of taking a little break, and that's why I haven't come out with anything in July. I try to do a monthly release, but I haven't had, or sorry, June. I haven't had anything come out in June.
I try to. I know how that feels. I try to space out my uploads as much as possible.
I have a release for this month, which totally sucks. And this will be the first month that I haven't released something, because literally every month of this year I've tried to release a track, which a lot of the times does feel really rushed. I mean, I released the beat time mix. I don't really count that. That has a couple of IDs that are in there that are like mine. That's the only like technical thing I've released within the past month.
I'll admit to this, but I haven't seen like this year's Witherfest like show. So like I don't know if the beat time mix is from Witherfest. Sorry, Enderfest.
Enderfest. It was Wither Club at one point. Now it was Enderfest. Beat time mix was for Enderfest when I performed. It's just a little short 16-minute long set, but that's the only thing I've really released within the past month. I have a couple of tracks about ready for next month, like the Metaroom collab that we have. That's the main thing I'm basically getting pumped up for.
Same here.
I hope people like it. Like, I'll send you what I have. I'm pretty sure you've listened to it, but I'll send you what I got right now. It's more arrangement right now, and just kind of like, we're kind of at the mastering point. Freddie wanted to do a couple of like other little things, but aside from that, we're about done. And
yeah, I feel like you and him style just completely go well together.
Well, yeah, I feel like what a lot of people described BUGCORE as was like Metaroom, but slower. And I was like, Yeah, I can understand that. I see that.
Weren't people at
And
some point said that you were Metaroom but under
That's
a different
okay.
alias?
Literally, that's what people still think, is that me and Metaroom are like, okay, since I'm on the podcast, like, I can clarify to you right now. Me and Metaroom are not the same person at all. We have a lot in common, but like we're not like the same person. This isn't like an alternate account of Metaroom. This is my music. We just happen to have the same artist do our profile pictures. And I guess we do have similar sounding music. So I'm excited for all what I got ready for next month, which basically consists of the collab between me and Metaroom, and then maybe like one other track if I'm prepared for it. Yeah, that's what I got basically set up. That, and then there's a couple of other projects I'm not even allowed to talk about that I wish I could talk about, because oh my lord, you would love it.
I sure I will.
And yeah, you will dig this. We have so much lined up and ready that I just happen to be associated with, not necessarily my music, but stuff I've helped with.
I'm just like still waiting on that MAFTI collab because I have plans that like I want that to be my first collab.
Is with
MAFTI? I'm sure that'll go well. Hopefully.
Oh yeah, dude. I bet he'd love to.
I mean, he said it himself, so I'm just waiting.
Or yeah, you're just waiting at this point.
Yeah.
Well, usually what I do, like if I don't know whether or not the artist is like ready, I'll maybe just send them some tracks I've been working on. I'm like, hey, these are just some tracks I was working on. I'm not sure if this sounds interesting to you, but would you want to work on this? And 9 times out of 10, they're usually like, oh yeah, no, this is super dope. And I feel like MAFTI would be the same exact way. You send him some stems, dude, he will work on that shit.
I sent him like an early access version of my latest EP. He hasn't gone back to it.
He had, ooh,
nah.
I so desperately want to talk about so much, but we're all very busy with a certain thing. I can't talk about it.
No, it's cool. You don't have to. Nah.
Super cool when it ends up happening.
Just keep your lips sealed until
it's
ready.
I don't want to be yelled at by all my friends telling me like, "Why did you do this?" It's like, I'm sorry.
I doubt they'll just like listen to the podcast anyways. Oh, Metaroom and MAFTI, or anyone else who's listening to this. If any of you are listening to this, hello, hit a brother up.
I'm sending to them individually. They will listen to this whether they like it or not.
If they're in the VC, just play it through the music bot.
Play it through the music bot, exactly.
Put it on loop.
On loop, 24/7. Nothing else. Just me and you talking, basically.
Yep.
Like, how long have we been talking now?
Let me check. 1 hour, 18 minutes.
Oh, that's a solid podcast episode right there.
Yeah, it's not a bad debut. Like, I thought it was gonna go like wrong somehow, but no, like I'm pretty confident at this.
This podcast is gonna be dope.
Yeah,
it's like, you have to have the idea of like nothing, like this is gonna be awesome and like nothing's gonna go wrong. You have to have an optimistic mindset about it.
Yeah, I hope that like this like it inspires other artists to just not be shy during a podcast scenario. So like if you're one of those artists, then just like please hit me up. I'm always looking for new guests.
I'm sure Metaroom would love to do this. Like,
really?
For sure. Oh yeah.
I haven't heard his voice before.
You haven't heard his voice before?
Nope.
It's I'm sitting here about to describe his voice to you. No, he's a very laid back dude. I reached out to him or asked him when we're all in the voice chat next. I bet you'd totally be down. Right. He's never done something like this. So I think it'd be especially with you, I think it would be he'd be a lot more content with doing it. But yeah, I could probably later tonight I might reach out to him.
He needs to branch out, like
he does. He needs to start doing more podcasts and stuff.
Yeah, this isn't like your typical like interview type podcast. This is just me talking to people casually, like it's like the camera isn't even on.
Right, and that's what it's all about. Like you just talk to people like they're your friend.
Yeah, like I just said before we like started recording, Like, this is just gonna be like this regular podcast where I just talk to artists, and that's
Yeah.
it.
You know, and I think people don't really want to see that superficial side of an artist. They want to see like what, or I guess they want to hear what they have to say and what's like in their personal life. And, you know, I feel like it's so much more interesting watching like one of my favorite artists or maybe one of my favorite actors or something in an interview and just acting like themselves. And like even the interviewee just kind of like, or interviewer, just kind of like acting natural and like you're talking to a friend.
And not just some robot.
And not just some robot. Like, you know, this is a human being that you're talking to. Like, especially with celebrities, I don't think people understand that. Like, that is, in fact, a human being, like, that you're talking to. Like, they have the same emotions that you have. They feel the same things that you do. They just happen to be put in a spot in our, I'm saying this word, society. Everyone can freak out, but I think that we have this idea built up in our society that like celebrities are just these almost godlike figures and you can't talk to them or you can't do this and you can't like, you know, if you talk to them like this, they're never going to talk to you. And that's not how it works. Like this is just like, you know, a human being. It's just, that's a person who has emotions, has a family like you do and lives life like you do. And yeah. I don't understand why you would ever want to talk differently to someone like that.
Usually interviews are just like, what did you have for breakfast? What time did you wake up? What are your thoughts on this? And then just throw a whole bunch of like controversies in their faces.
Did you piss this morning? Do you have a cup that you can piss in and I can drink it?
Well, that's your daily dose of Bug being weird.
Yep. It only happens at exactly 8:17 p.m. every night.
3:17 a.m. where I am.
Jesus Christ, dude! What? Why are you awake?
I mean, you told me that you're up, that you're down to do in like 2 hours, so I was just like, yeah, sure.
You're like, fuck it, I guess I'm gonna have to stay up until 3 o'clock.
My parents really don't mind.
That's nice. I still have to. I'm an adult, and I still have to, you know, get back home at like 11 or else I'll wake up in a bad mood or something. Like, I wish I was a night owl.
Yeah, it's not as good as you think it is.
Well, the times I have like stayed up till like 3 or 4, it's usually because I can't sleep and that just makes me more anxious. Like I enjoy staying up. I think it's nice, especially when working on music and then you can wake up in the morning and be like, what the fuck did I make last night? I don't remember at all.
I thought I was the only one that was like that. Because like usually I just make something, just like play it over and over again, go to sleep, wake up, and I
go to sleep, wake up, play it again, and then you're either like, okay, I like this or I don't like this. I feel like morning after is always like when I kind of give my final, like, okay, I'm gonna work with this or I'm not gonna work with this, and it just depends on what I think of it in the morning.
Oh, I have a music-related question that I forgot to ask.
Oh, ask away.
How do you find samples? Like, what is your way of finding samples?
So I go one of two ways. I either just like straight up go on YouTube and will look like hours and hours of just going through like song samples, and a lot of the times it's like it'll almost be forced when I'm looking for samples. It'll be like the best jazz samples or best like disco samples or best future funk samples, and I'll go through those or something.
Yeah.
Or a lot of the times I'll work with a track that I've just enjoyed, like in the past. So with there's a lot of things I've sampled where it's just like I really liked that song growing up or something, or I really enjoyed the way this sounded when I was like 13, and then I'll just kind of take that or the song, let's say, that I liked, and I'll sample it. But most of the time, it's kind of looking for gold, which I have come across a couple of times. There's one sample I found, and it literally felt like I struck gold. I was like, God damn, this is it. EARWORM was one of those samples where I was like, I could just do so much with this. And I have a different song that I'm kind of working on called Ethereal Reject. And that was one of the tracks where I was like, this is it. Like, this is going to be dope. Yeah, I still haven't released Ethereal Reject. Don't tell anyone about that. But No.
But it's on here on the podcast. People just like listen to this over and over
People
again.
are, yeah. What's Ethereal Reject? What is this? What little track I'm working on?
How I usually find samples is just like sometimes when I'm watching an anime, I often find like dialogue that I think would be interesting to sample. So like I open up Audacity, record that part, and then just like, you know, save into a folder somewhere. Or if it's like a specific noise that I like, that I want to be used in a song, then I also do that. And sometimes I just take samples from other artists. That's really it.
I've done that in the past as well, where it's like, oh, I really enjoyed like this artist's song or something, and then I'll take like little bits and pieces and just completely change it into my own thing. That is a way of going about like sampling that I'll occasionally do.
So how long do you want this to go for?
How long do you want this to? I could probably talk forever. I probably should go let my family know I'm alive, but I'm cool to end it here if you want to end it here. I'm cool to keep this thing going. All up to you.
I'm trying to think of something. Yeah, I mean, we talked about like burnout and all that stuff. Well, we didn't talk about burnout, but something related to that. Yeah, Freddie, MAFTI, everything.
We've talked about so much within the past like hour. Geez, now almost like hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah, hour and 27.
Ooh, close to that 1 minute, 1:30.
I'm just grateful to be like friends with you, Tsujin, like everyone else, you know, because
yeah, well, I'm grateful to be friends with you. I think that, you know, your music is dope, and I will always be excited to see like what you come out with.
I just find it weird how just people just compare me to Sewerslvt for whatever reason, though my music sounds nothing like hers. Well, almost.
No, I can see the similarities, but that's not to say that I would like be like, oh, you're Sewerslvt for sure.
No,
like,
I'm not like a carbon copy.
No. Well, you definitely have your own style, I would say. You definitely know what you're doing, and you kind of have an idea, which isn't necessarily Sewerslvt style.
Yeah.
Like, I would say it's almost like the mixture between Sewerslvt and Metaroom, wherein it's that jittery, like non-stop action of a track that you manage to capture.
Yeah, that's fair.
But you put it your own twist on it, and you always manage to bring your own sense of style into your track, which I always find interesting. And I wouldn't compare, your music to like anyone else's or anyone else's music to yours, because what you do is purely your music.
Yeah, that's fair. Though I've been like branching out a lot of the time to make it sound like less Sewerslvt like, because I've been mostly inspired by her since when I started properly making music. But yeah, I'm more and more just branching out and trying to find my own style, I guess. And my new EP kind of shows.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited to hear that. Like,
as in,
the new EP.
As in, not the remix EP, but the one I put out like earlier.
Oh, that EP, yeah. No, that was awesome. But yeah, I'll always be excited to see where you take your next musical step.
I guess I want to end it off right here. It's almost 3:30 in the morning, and I just need to wake up. Yeah. It's been a pleasure talking with you, BUGCORE.
Pleasure being on.
If it wasn't for you, then I probably wouldn't be friends with like everyone else. And get in contact with all these people. Telemist, Metaroom, MAFTI, everyone else. Yeah, that seems cool.
I'm happy to be a part of it. I'm happy to be, a part of your musical journey. If you ever wanted, if you ever want to be back on the show or something, I'm totally down for it. If you wanted to do like a MAFTI, me and Freddie or something, I'd totally be game.
Yeah, I totally do like a multiple artist guest where it's just more than one.
That would be dope. You should definitely do something like that, where you just have multiple artists on the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, pleasure talking to you, and I'm so happy to. This is my first podcast I've ever done as BUGCORE.
Yeah, it was just baffling how like you and MAFTI just like tied everything in together to to be where I am today, because beforehand I still wasn't very comfortable with talking to a lot of artists because of that situation I had with that one artist.
Right.
I was just a shut-in for like half a year, maybe more than that.
Yeah, crazy, man. Well, I'm so happy to be like, a part of this and to continue to watch you grow and stuff. I think it's going to be, your future has a lot. I'm so excited to see where you go.
Well, thank you. Well, that's where I'm gonna end it off. Thanks, BUGCORE. Tell everyone in the Nothing World Discord that I said hi, and
we'll tell.
Yeah, and like you said, you could probably like offer Metaroom like a space in the podcast.
For sure, 100%. I'm talking to him about it.
Oh yeah, that would be interesting. It was like a voice reveal.
Yeah, voice reveal. I don't think he's ever done an official voice reveal.
Nope.
But yeah, catch you on the flip side. Thanks for having me on, man.
All right, thank you for listening, everyone, and yeah, I'll definitely do more of this. Take care and have a good night, or evening, or morning, or whatever.
Evening, 8:27. Hey, you have a good morning.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, see ya.
Bye, see ya.